This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video. As most of you know, President Trump's job approval has not been looking good for a couple weeks now, if not for a couple months. Just look at the RCP average right now. It is currently -10. Compare that to the middle of March, when President Trump's approval was roughly +1, +2 for a long time. But ever since then, it's been a steady decline. There's been some spikes here and there, but really, it's been a consistent downward trend for President Trump. He went from +1, +2 to -1, -6 for a little bit, went back to -2. Ever since then, though, ever since early June, there's been a clear downward trend for President Trump. And it really broke in the middle of October, during the shutdown, during the elections in Virginia, New Jersey. That's when the floor caved in. That's when Trump's approval really sank. You went from -7 to what, -13 in 4 weeks? That's not good. Now, to be fair to President Trump, some of these numbers, let's face it, they were bullshit. Like, the polls that dropped that period, you had Reuters, Fox News, CBS News. They were dropping ridiculous numbers of -20, -22, -17. There were some polls that had them at like -28. It was ridiculous. So that's part of the reason Trump's numbers look so bad. But even when you factor out those polls, it's clear as day that, yeah, Trump's approval, there's been a downward trend since the middle of June this year. And really, post Virginia, New Jersey, it collapsed. It went down a big swing in just a couple of weeks. But we're not going to talk about this entire collapse or whatever, because that happened a couple of weeks ago. We get it. Yeah, Trump's approval, it went down a little bit. I do want to talk about how it appears that Trump's approval, it seems to be reversing just a little bit. Now, I want to be clear about this. I'm not saying that by next week, Trump's gonna be at +15 or whatever, that no one should expect that. But look at the approval, okay? On November 20th, November 21st, -13, -12.5. It was pretty bad. But funny enough, compared to November of 2018 or 2017, it was actually an improvement. Back then, November 20th, he was at -19, -20. It was bad. And sometimes it was like -22. It was horrendous. But compare that to today, it's clear that Trump's approval numbers, it's gotten better since 2017, which should tell you everything. But either way, it's not good either. It's not good to be at -10, but you can notice something, that Trump's approval, it seems to be slowly but surely rebounding even just a little bit. It seems to be going back to normal a tiny bit. As on November 20th, -12, -13, now it's down to -10. And you take out those garbage polls from CBS News, Fox News, Reuters, these pollsters suck. They had some ridiculous margins, and these were like 3 weeks old. Why are they still in the average? Who knows? But you take them out of the average, we're probably to Trump +7, Trump +8, or not, I should say -8, which, yeah, that's not good. It might be even higher than that, but still, you would rather be at -6, -7, -8, wherever, somewhere in that range, than be at -10. Because being at -6 after being at -13 a couple weeks ago, that's a rebound. That is a significant rebound for President Trump, and it does seem like that's what's happening. We're seeing Trump's approval across the board rebound. Now, some pollsters, they're not showing the huge rebound that others are, but look at this pollster from Harvard-Harris. Look at this. In just 1 month, Trump's approval swung a net swing of 5 points, +3 for approve and -2 for disapprove. Meaning Trump's approval right now is 47% approve and 49% disapprove, which is below 50% for disapprove. Yeah, this is a good pollster, by the way. This is not some garbage pollster that no one ever heard about. Harvard-Harris is a
fairly solid pollster. And they found Trump's numbers to be the best they've been in a while. Right here, yeah, negative, they're at 49% disapprove. That's the best in a couple of months. If you're Trump, despite everything that's happened, despite everybody saying it's over, Trump is hated by everybody, even though everyone knows that's bullshit, despite all of that, Trump's approval, if it's really at 46, 47%, despite everything that's gone on with the base being mad with him, being upset with him not doing enough on deportations, with the economy sucking, if you're President Trump's admin, you better be jumping for joy at this, because you would think with everything going on, he would be below water by 10, 15 points, but he's not. The recent polls, you look at it, they have Trump below water, but the worst one was from YouGov, and everybody knows YouGov is a pretty bad poll. They found a negative 14. Rasmussen, which is a better pollster, they found a negative 12. But even then, that's a daily tracker, and they have weird swings at times. But the rest of the polls, it's not that bad. Not saying it's good, but it's between 6, 7, 8. There was a couple polls within 4 points. And the ones that have it within 4, like TIPP and Harvard Harris, they're good pollsters. So what does this mean? It seems like President Trump's approval, it is slowly rebounding. It is slowly but surely rebounding back to what it was maybe in the middle of September, okay, where it was like -6, -5, maybe a bit before that, maybe August. That's what it seems like we're heading towards the end of the year, which that's a miracle. For Trump to be anywhere close to where he was back in even August, which, yeah, I'm not saying -5 is good, but he is flirting with the idea of going back to where he was a couple months ago, despite the economy, despite getting crushed in Virginia, New Jersey, despite everyone panicking and saying it's all over for President Trump. He could actually be rebounding back to where he was a couple months ago. And that's with a shit economy. That's what makes this so stunning. We're not talking about a booming economy where everything's perfect. Objectively, the economy sucks. It's not in a good position right now. Cost of living, it's gotten slightly better under Trump, but it's still a major concern for a lot of people. And that's why Trump's approval has been declining. They don't think he's done enough with the economy, with cost of living. And yeah, the admin has changed their messaging a little bit, but let's cut the crap. They have not done enough on this front when it comes to messaging. And Trump still says some wacky stuff about the economy, and it pisses people off even further. Despite all of that, we might have found Trump's floor, roughly 42%. And his ceiling for disapprove, even with all those garbage pollsters, is like 55%. That's it. That is, in this environment, in this current situation, that is like best case scenario for Trump. Because theoretically, if the economy gets even okay, we're not talking about 2017 levels, because even in 2017, with the economy doing so good or getting much better, especially in 2019 and stuff, Trump's approval was terrible. It was still a -20. But right now, despite the economy sucking, despite some people thinking he's not done enough on immigration, objectively speaking, he is in a better position than he was just 8 years ago. I know that's crazy to say, but it's true. Trump's approval was terrible in his first year. Yeah, there's some garbage pollsters back then, but still, he wasn't in a good position at all. But despite everything going on right now with a bad economy, he is actually in a position to recover quickly. It all comes down to the economy. It doesn't matter what people think about immigration or whatever. It's clear that's not the reason people are not happy with Trump right now. It's the economy. And yet, despite Trump being below water on these issues like the economy and his job approval as a whole, voters still would support him over Biden. Look at this right here. This is a poll conducted from Harvard Harris, and they found that even with Trump below water by a couple of points and with recency bias potentially impacting the result even more, so you would think, okay, if they asked who did a better job as president, Trump or Biden, with these type of polls, especially if you're below water as a president, and it's been a while since President Biden's been in office, with recency bias, you would expect Democrats to have a very good showing. They don't. Now, Biden was historically bad, we get that, but still to this day, the majority of Americans are saying President Trump has done a better job as president than Joe Biden. That's with voters saying he has sucked on the economy, he's been a disappointment on immigration, failed in the Epstein files. And that's with all these Democrats, no matter what Trump does, they're going to say Biden was better no matter what. So you would expect some kind of recency bias to come into play. Yet Trump is still winning. He is still more popular, or at least on this front, people are saying he's done a better job as president than Biden, which makes you really wonder, is Trump's approval being so bad? Is that because people had such high expectations for him, where if he doesn't do every single thing they want him to do, that they automatically have issues with it because he disappointed them? I think that's what's going on here. We had such high expectations, and yeah, President Trump has delivered on a lot of them, but whenever he doesn't deliver on, just say, mass deportations, we want millions of people deported each year. We're on pace for roughly 2.5 million the first year with self-deportations, roughly 2.5 to 3 million people. Well, that's good, but people are expecting more. And that's why Trump's approval on immigration is kind of low, because they're not mad at him for doing too many deportations. They're mad at the fact that he's not done enough, which is a huge difference. I mean, it's one thing if people were saying, oh, Trump's too harsh on immigration, but really, most people are fine with the raids. They're just saying, we want more. Stop with the social media bullshit. Nobody likes it. Focus on deporting all these people, and we'll be fine with it. So that's why I'm still saying Trump's approval, with it rebounding already, with it being a recency bias, this is a good position to be in for Trump if he wants to recover. Now, we've still got to wait and see what happens, because this has been a very inconsistent admin. One day it seems like they understand what's going on and they got to fix those issues like the economy, cost of living. Then the next day, they do something stupid that pisses a lot of people off. It's a very bizarre admin, but I do think President Trump can recover. I do think we are slowly seeing kind of a vibe shift occur, where people are like, yeah, Trump's been disappointing on some issues, but really, can you say you disapprove of him? Like, honestly, just because he's not done enough on some issues, that does not mean he's been a bad president or whatever. That's kind of a stupid way to look at it. I agree. President Trump in some areas, you could argue it's been a disappointment. Now that's been kind of overstated a bit, but still, I do think right now we are in a very interesting period where Trump's approval, it is slowly but surely trending upwards. Again, a very slow process, but we shall see what happens. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.